This year, as we celebrate the centennial of Rizal's martyrdom, the probe team separates the man from the myth and finds out how he could have been, much like you and I. This is not the latest addition to the deluge of soap operas on local TV, but is actually a documentary on the life of Jose Rizal.
I think what pushed him to be a great hero was the fact that in his earlier days in school, he noticed that he was being treated differently from the Spaniards. And there was always that desire to say, I'm as good as these Spaniards, or I'm as good as these mestizos, even if I'm just an Indio. He almost didn't get into Ateneo because he looked too frail, or he was too short. But anyway, through connections, he was able to get inside. In his first year, he wasn't like in the tops all the time. There were only 12 students, and if you look through the grading system, he was just like, what, 10th? Or he was not the tops.
He wasn't all that calm about things. There were points in his life where when he was really desperate. When he graduated from high school, from college, that was his bachelor in artes, instead of saying, I'm happy, I'm going to whatever, med school or something, he said, I'm so depressed that my youth has passed. And he was saying this at 17 or something. When he was writing the El Filibusterismo, he mentions that I live in this dingy apartment. I spent day and night writing this novel, which I don't know if it will ever get published. And he says this, I wish that there would be a big fire that would engulf all of us.
Researchers say that Rizal's depressions occurred even more frequently during the time that he was abroad. There, he also displayed his stinginess and the many ways he tried to save money whenever his stipend from his family came late.
We're quoting his sisters, like when he tells his sister that I haven't taken a bath for the last 6 months, because at the time he preferred to spend his money on books, on watching plays at the theater.
Rizal's love life usually stirs up interest among Filipinos, but among the many women in his life, his relationship with Josephine Bracken proved to be the most enigmatic. Capino notes that Rizal's exile to Dapitan came after his troubles in Madrid, pushing him even deeper into the throes of depression. It was also around this time that Rizal met Josephine, a young, liberated Caucasian lady who was rumored to be a bar girl from Hong Kong. Rizal and Josephine lived together in Dapitan for several years.
When Josephine came into his life, the way I read it is that for the first time, he had the opportunity to live his life for himself.
I think what I can imagine how difficult it was to do during his time.
Tuitams Gonzalez is a direct descendant of Rizal. She says that even families of great heroes also have their share of conflict. And letting people know this disabuses them of their notion that heroes are like gods.
Turns out my great-grandmother was a separated woman. Okay, now when do you think I found that out? When I was already 40. Because the family mythology would not impart to us, and this is really, you have to know the context, because in my generation, most of us are separated. But they gave us a really hard time, made us feel that we were really evil people,
But even Tuitams stumbled upon this information only by accident. She says it's difficult, even for descendants, to investigate the lives of our heroes, since most families are actually more comfortable with their hero relative being deified and are unwilling to part with such family secrets.
So I think for the previous generation, their big thing too was to keep all these normal human things away from us.
Otoridad, naroon silang lahat upang kamkamin lahat ng pag-aari ng mga pinalayas. Mga 300 pamilyang inagawa ng kanilang lupa.
And Capino cites that although the documentary doesn't contain anything radically new about Rizal, it gives a complete picture of Rizal's views during his lifetime. And those views are told in a manner that appeals to a wider audience.
From his youth of his childhood, what kind of child was he, you know, and gradually, how did he respond to the call of the times such that eventually we have come to call him a hero.
People involved in these projects have changed the way they perceive history and Rizal. The centennial has rightfully put Jose Rizal and our other heroes in the spotlight. But there are still fears that these displays of nationalism will be short-lived and that Filipinos will fail to remember the ideals that every hero's statue stands for.
We look at Rizal and then we look at ourselves. No? Have we really learned? No? Have we really fulfilled the aspirations of our heroes?
Rizal refused to be shot in the back, saying that he had not been a traitor to his country or Spain. When the guns were fired, he made a last effort to turn around. For Tweetums, rereading this historical fact had so moved her and strengthened her determination to pursue her cause.
Do you think you can keep this up? I mean, making Rizal and other heroes relevant in the context of today's multimedia
Well, you know,
blitz?
I'll answer that personally. I think I would make it a personal cause. For Rizal, if you read their lives, you'll see that wala naman sila talagang iniba eh. You know, except that they believed strongly enough to die for it.